At the very moment Emily Carter stepped off the faded Greyhound bus and walked across the cracked pavement toward her childhood street, heads turned, not because she had come home after 3 long, painful years away, but because her once golden hair was now shaved down to the skin, her eyes hollow from battles no one in the quiet town of Redwood Valley even knew she had fought. The sun hit her bare scalp like a spotlight, exposing every secret, every tear, every moment she had collapsed and forced herself back up again. People whispered from porches and storefronts as she passed, unsure whether to pity her, judge her, or avoid her altogether. Before the story unfolds, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity to rise above judgment and pain, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Emily kept her gaze down, clutching her small backpack as if it were the last piece of the life she once recognized. Her boots felt heavy against the ground as memories surged, her father's disappointment, her mother's tears, the accident that had shattered her future, and the grief that pushed her into a spiral of self-destruction until she disappeared without explanation. No one knew that she had shaved her head during her final week in rehab, staring into the mirror as the hair fell like pieces of her past, promising herself that if she survived, she would start over, no matter how many people doubted her. The town didn't welcome her. People muttered assumptions, drugs, prison, mental breakdowns, all the rumors small towns thrive on. Emily kept walking until she reached the corner of Maple Street, where the massive Hells Angels chapter warehouse stood like a rusted fortress. She had once worked there as a cleaner, and though the bikers had always seemed distant and intimidating, they treated her far better than most of the town did. Her closest connection had been old Samuel Briggs, known by everyone as Iron Sam, a towering biker with a braided beard, faded tattoos, and a heart that understood brokenness better than anyone. He had been sober for 9 years, a leader in the club, and the only one Emily ever trusted enough to tell about her struggles. When she left town, she left him a letter saying she wouldn't be coming back. And yet here she was. What she didn't know was that Iron Sam had never thrown her letter away. Instead, he kept it folded in his vest, and every time the club roared out of town, he carried her words with him like a promise that one day she would return. When the Angels saw Emily crossing the lot that afternoon, her head naked and vulnerable under the harsh light, their conversations fell silent. Faces hardened, jaws clenched, and the kind of protective instinct only found in people who had lived through war, literal or emotional, began to stir. Emily only wanted to ask Sam if there was any old cleaning work she could do, just enough to buy groceries until she found a job. But as she stepped inside, Sam froze mid-sentence, staring at her with a shock that softened instantly into heartbreak. He walked toward her, slow and careful, as if afraid she might vanish again if he moved too fast. Emily tried to speak, to explain, to apologize, but the moment Sam gently touched her shoulder, she broke, collapsing into a sob so raw it silenced every man in the room. Word spread fast. Emily's return became the talk of the club that evening as she sat wrapped in one of Sam's old jackets, telling him the truth, the addiction, the car crash that nearly killed her, the friend she lost that night, the guilt that ate her alive, the rehab center where she shaved her head in an attempt to start over. She was terrified the Angels would judge her. Instead, something else happened. Something no one in Redwood Valley could have predicted. Sam gathered the club leaders and spoke with a fire that came from deep inside him. Emily had come home to rebuild her life, and he was not going to let this town tear her down again. "We protect our own," he said, in the voice of a man who had lost too many and refused to lose one more. And within hours, the Hells Angels decided on something that would go down in the town's history. By sunrise, 300 bikers, every member from neighboring states, every rider who owed Sam a favor, every angel who believed in redemption, rolled into Redwood Valley like a thunderstorm of engines and leather. The sound shook windows and sent people running to their porches. The townsfolk panicked, thinking trouble had arrived. But the opposite was true. The angels weren't there to start a fight, they were there to rebuild a life. They split into groups, each assigned a mission Sam organized through the night. Some went to Emily's childhood home, where the porch sagged, the paint peeled, and her mother had been too depressed to keep up repairs. The bikers patched the roof, repainted the siding, fixed the fence, cleaned the yard, and left a new welcome mat at the door. Others went to the small diner where Emily applied for work that morning and convinced the owner, politely but firmly, to give her a chance, even offering to sponsor the cost of her uniform and meals until she got her first paycheck. Another group rode to pharmacies, stores, and clinics across the region, gathering supplies Emily would need: vitamins, healthy meals, journals, clothing, self-care products, and even a helmet engraved with phoenix wings. As all this happened, Sam took Emily to the hill overlooking the valley, where she used to sit as a teenager dreaming of escaping the town that never understood her. She watched as 300 bikes moved like an army of angels disguised as outlaws, each rider acting with a sense of purpose she never felt worthy of. She had lost everything: her confidence, her reputation, her dreams, but these men were giving her something even more precious: belief. And belief, she realized, was more powerful than any apology she could offer the world. The town saw the transformation happening in real time. Judgment slowly shifted to curiosity, then awe, then quiet respect. By the end of the 24 hours, Emily's mother hugged her with a trembling joy, whispering that she had prayed every night for this moment. The diner owner handed her a freshly washed uniform and told her to start the next morning. And the Hells Angels stood in a wide circle around her, engines rumbling like a heartbeat growing stronger after years of weakness. Near the end of the long day, as the sun dipped behind the mountains and Emily stood before the sea of leather vests and patched jackets, Sam placed a hand on her shoulder and reminded her of something she had forgotten. People don't rise because life gets easier, they rise because someone believes they can. And in that moment, surrounded by 300 unlikely guardians, Emily finally believed it too. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps more people see these stories of hope and humanity. Just before we end, please comment below what part of Emily's journey reminded you that redemption is always possible, no matter how far someone has fallen.